Let's take a look at the Batches module in JobPro. Now, JobPro has the ability to track items or assets even by serial number. So if you're increasing into stock items that are tracked this way, whether it's on a purchase order, for example, receiving goods, or you're assembling finished products from raw materials or components, you can attach a new batch to those items. So then on selling or transferring those items between stock locations, you can see then what quantities are left for certain batches. So let's take a look at how this works. If you go into the Products module first, and here we are looking at a specific product, and this item is tracked by serial numbers. We can click on the Batches tab and we can see any previous batches for this item, where they were created from, like receiving on a purchase order or a shipping in record, for example. And let's create a purchase order for this particular product. So in here we click on Create PO. In this case, the purchase order is defaulted to a quantity of 45 because that's the reorder quantity for this particular supplier. And let's say that we just received or part received 10 of these items. So we can click into Received, put in a quantity of 10, click OK. Now this particular item is set that when you're increasing the item into stock, like on a PO, that it auto enters the next serial number. So here it knows the next serial number, and usually the serial length is 10 digits. An alternative way of inputting serial numbers is to set it to manually input serial numbers for a product. And in that case, we then could use a barcode scanner and scan the barcode serial numbers from the actual items. So from this screen, we can select to create a batch for these 10 items. So click on Batch, and we put in batch name. We can put in a description as well if we like, and we go Create. So then we'll generate those 10 serial number items into stock. We can see then that there's a balance of 35 still on that particular purchase order. Now this similar functionality of creating a batch is more likely used, for example, if you're assembling goods or manufacturing goods and you're creating finished products from components or raw materials. Well, where you do that then is on a job record, where you could create a new job, and on the Assembly tab we could add in the items that we're going to assemble in here. And we'd select our finished product. Now that finished product would have already been set up in the Products module to show what bill of materials or costings make up that product. So let's select an item that's got some bill of materials or costings on it. And we'll say quantity required for this finished product is 5. We can see that there's an issue with stock relating to the items or the components that are going to make up this finished product. If we click on the arrow here, we can then view of what makes this finished product up. Now just in relation to the batches functionality here, it's when we actually assemble this finished product, and if this finished product is also tracked by serial numbers and we're specifying the serial numbers for the finished quantity of 5, it's at that point again that we can create a batch and link these created finished products to that batch. So let's go into the Batches module and have a look at that. And we go to the last batch that we just created there a minute ago. Here we can see the sample batch. When it was created from a purchase order, the quantity, if there's any of those items have been sold already and what the balance is left. and we can see the actual individual items that are in that batch and their current status as well. So let's go and actually sell a few of those items. So we open up the sales module group, and well, actually the simplest way to do this would be if we go into sales invoices, create a new record, specify a company, add a line item, and then we link it to the product code. And we'll say we're selling a quantity of 3 of these. Now, what we need to do then is we can create a shipping record from here. And then we're prompted to specify which 3 items are we picking from the list that's available. We can see here's the items that we linked to the sample batch. So let's pick 3 of those and click continue. So there's our shipping out record that's been created, and that will have reduced the stock by 3. So there's a number of ways we could go back to the batches module or to take a look at the product screen as well. One of them is just to click on batches or products, but another method would be to click on the arrow, bring us straight to that product code. So now we're back in products, where we can see all the batches relating to that product. And there's the batch that we created there earlier. Original quantity 10, used 3, and a balance of 7 remaining. If we click on the arrow here, it'll bring us straight to that batch as well in the batches module. So there's lots of ways of navigating around the system. So here we can see there's a balance of 3 left. We can also filter out by various options here. Anything that's for sale, something that might be a customer item, anything that's for rent or loan use based on the location, anything that's on rental or loan use, maybe on jobs or tasks, internal use, and anything that's inactive as well, like those items that have been sold. What we can do here is also click on an arrow to the left of an item, and it'll bring us to that specific asset or unit in the units module. And in here it'll show you what batch it's relevant to, what product it's relevant to, and it's specifically here it shows you where it originally came from and other information to do with product movements from here. We can click on the batch link here to bring us back to the batches module for that item as well. If you don't need to use the batches module at all, you can turn that off in setup under modules, or you can also in setup under products and services specify that you don't normally track batches in here either. If we go back into the batches module, we've also got other information that we can store relating to a batch, like a sell by date, a sell by date from a retail point of view, and an expiry date as well if relevant. Let's put in an example date here. So it'll show you how many days are left, and if it's overdue, it'll have a flag over here to warn the user, which you can also search on to search anything that's past the sell by date from different options like retail and expiry as well. So down the bottom right of the screen, you can also create notes or messages to other users in relation to batches. And then we can see those in the notes and communications portal here. So that pretty much covers the batches functionality in JobPro.